Okay, so we've got our centre back panels here now, and we're just going to sew the centre back seam, which is this long seam here. You can see the interfacing is on the wrong side. That's where the hem goes up. And starting at the neck, again 1 centimetre. And with the 1 centimetre, remember that you can use the line on the 4 as a guide to indicate your 1 centimetre. And I forgot to change my stitch length back, so I'll just change that back. And remember when you're sewing long seams that you don't just go like this and sew all the way down. You actually have a waist notch here, so we'll match up the waist notch. And then we're just going to sew to the waist. So just concentrate on one section at a time. And once you get to the waist notch, then you can work on the next section. And remember too, there's this little bit of, if you have a little bit of interfacing hanging over, it's fine on this side, but on this side, if you were sewing, you might actually follow this edge. So if you've got bits of interfacing hanging over past the actual fabric, it's a good idea to trim those back. Okay, so that's our centre back done. Now we need to sew the centre back panel onto the side panel here. And I find it's usually easier, even though this has interfacing on it, I find it's easier when you're sewing seams to sew it with the concave curve on top, so you're actually stretching that back. So in this case, I'd start at the hem and I'd work up from the hem. So again, you can get started and there's a waist notch here. So we're just going to go from the hem up to the waist notch, at 1 centimetre. And now we're going to go from up to the notch. You've got 2 notches here. There's a notch to just to help get you up to this top section, and then there's actually a notch that matches up here. Again, it's the same with the front. So the notch matches with the corner, and then we're actually going to sew up to this point here. So we'll just match that up. So there's just a notch there because it's coming up to a curve. So we're just going to push, because this is the inner curve, we're going to have to push that out. So don't sit it like that, actually push it out so that it matches up. The raw edges match. Match the notch. And then our corner matched up with the notch here. And then we sew up, and we're actually going to sew up to this point here. And the reason that this is cut down is because it's actually really hard. When you're cutting lots of layers of garments, it's hard to cut a little step out on this piece. So that's why we've added the extra notch as a guide there. So that's our side panel done, and I'll just sew the other side panel on, and then we'll press the seams open.